the most important thing I took away from this is really putting out the message to every woman I know to get your annual mammograms, and even more importantly, to do self-exams. Hi, I'm Rochelle Jacobs, and my mother June Jacobs and I created the June Jacobs collection almost 20 years ago, and we are thrilled to be part of the QVC family. I grew up in New York with my mother, who was a single mother at the time, and she's basically instilled a crazy work ethic in me. And anything you want, you work hard for it, and you never give up. And we've really enjoyed working together for the last 20 plus years. Back in the early 2000s, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think when she first got diagnosed, it was a big step back for both of us. And I kind of went into it less as a daughter and more as I want to say caregiver, in the sense that, I went to every doctor's appointment, showing up with my notebook, my pen, my paper, had pre-written out questions, wrote the answers down, wanted to really understand everything there was, just to make sure that everyone understood that we were, obviously making sure we were learning everything that we could learn in order to best support her through the journey. They give you a binder at the hospital that you can put things in, but my mother took it a step further and bought this huge binder and had clear protector sheets for every single tab in there, and every email she printed out, and all my notes, everything that she could find, research, everything she could find. If it was all in this binder, that binder represented more than just information. It was how I feel like where she stored her emotions, and it was something that was very helpful to her to get through this. I think the end of her treatment, when she was on the upside of it, being able to put it away when it was done and referencing it when she needed to, was really important to her. Well before my mother's diagnosis of breast cancer and subsequently my diagnosis of breast cancer, both my mother and I had been very involved and active in breast cancer research. I had joined the Mount Sinai Dubin Center Advisory Board through Elisa Port, who became a friend after I had an early biopsy in my 20s that was benign. We developed a rapport together, and I was super honored and excited to be part of her team at the Dubin Center. I was so happy that I could be part of the Dubin Center to help support my friend and other people that I knew that were struggling with breast cancer. But the fact that it actually touched my family was just something I hadn't even thought of when my mother and I got involved. So I guess the fact that we had that support and had that access to the knowledge from the Dubin Center and other people who had gone through this really helped us through our journey. But what I think for other people is knowing that there are people like me and my mother out there that are here to support other women going through this journey. It doesn't have to be scary, dark, terrible every step of the way. There's so many triumphs along the way, whether it's new research that's come out, or whether it's a relationship you build with your doctor, or even in the waiting room of, when I was waiting for my radiation, the women that I spoke with, the stories people shared about their experiences, and really just having everyone support each other through this. When I was later diagnosed, and I think it's important to note, I was 43 when I was diagnosed, and I had regular mammograms in my 30s because of an early biopsy that I had, which was benign in my 20s. It was just something that I was told to continue doing. So I hit 40, had my 40th mammogram, and there's absolutely no reason why I did not go for a mammogram at 41 and 42 and waited till 43. But when I did show up 3 years later, and the same doctor, Lisa Port, who has known me since I was 26 years old, came and called me and said, "It's not good. You have breast cancer." I was just like, oh my God, this is so crazy. How could that be? I think for me, it's the most important thing I took away from this is really putting out the message to every woman I know to get your annual mammograms, and even more importantly, to do self-exams. I think for me, putting all of my efforts into my kids and work really helped me get through this. But also in 2007, I took up yoga. So I had years of experience, and it was something that was super important to my everyday life before my diagnosis. And so I was able to kind of grasp on to the yoga and take it a little further into a kind of a meditation and really use that for my own emotional support. So I was putting out to the world, I'm fine, I'm going to work, you'll see I'm working harder than ever. Kids, I'm a great mother, I'm overcompensating and doing everything I can to not let you know what I'm going through. Oh, and thank goodness I have yoga, because that is my outlet where I am able to really let loose in an emotional sense. I mean, I think during Shavasana, there were times when tears would just come rolling down my face because everything had been bottled up, and it was such a relief to be able to even just lay there and do nothing. But it was like my time for me. So I don't know how I would have gotten through this without my friends and my yoga, because that really was the only way when I wasn't kind of overcompensating for everything else I was going through. The hardest part for me was the mistake I made really was not sharing it. So I was, without the yoga, I don't know how I would have gotten through it, but I was really bottling up so much of any emotion I felt other than I'm strong, I've always been strong, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to be okay. The mantra I just kept repeating to myself, and I totally believed it. So there was never an issue. There was never a time when I was like, all right, this isn't true. This is like baloney that I'm just telling myself to get through it. No, I knew this is what was going to happen. I know I'm strong. I feel like I didn't allow myself to be weak or vulnerable for a minute. And I think had I done that, I might not have had to be so strong all the time and put on that strong face all the time. So I've had a few friends and friends of friends who have been diagnosed with breast cancer since my diagnosis that, have reached out to me and asked me what my advice is. And my first thing is just take a deep breath. Don't worry about anyone but yourself. Don't worry about work. Don't worry about what people are going to think. Don't worry about anything except getting through this and understanding, just like every woman, man has their own, love language. This needs to be what's your health language. This is what works for you, and how are you going to cope through this and be, mentally healthy is really, to me, as important as the physically healthy part of this journey. So what is it going to take to mentally get you there? Is it going to get a massage that maybe you've never really even done and you've just dreamt about doing? Maybe this is the time that you do that. Maybe this is when you splurge and do things that you've never done before, just to give you that extra mental health on things that, for your body, to make you feel good, to maybe get your hair colored. Do something that you wouldn't maybe normally do to take care of yourself and put yourself first. So that was kind of some of the things I decided were super important to me. So I have been cancer-free for 6 years, and I have really not looked back, except for every year on my annual mammogram. You get the shakes and, really jittery, and take my very low blood pressure on an average day, and it's skyrocket high when I sit down right before my mammogram, take all your vitals. But it's really the one day a year where I allow it to be part of my thought process. I think I've kind of blocked it from my day to day, except for the one day a year, or the benefits. Actually, I'm very involved in as many of anything breast cancer related that I can do. So all of those times I allow it to be part of my experience, but the rest of the days of the year, it's just something I try not to focus on, although I support whenever I can, however I can. My hope is that Breast Cancer Awareness Month is exactly what it said it is. I mean, we have social media out there, and there are going to be people posting about their mammograms and everything else. This is the opportunity to make that appointment. It doesn't have to be in the month of October. It can be any other month also, but you need to make that appointment. These places are busy. So if you have your standing appointment, and then do your breast self-check. It's the easiest thing to do. It's so easy. You can watch a YouTube video if you don't think it is. So this is, really taking the awareness in Breast Cancer Awareness Month very seriously, because it saved so many people's lives and will continue to do so.